We are live. Welcome to the Bradbury Challenge, the podcast where three writers attempt to write one short story each week. My name is Maya, and I am here with Gerald and Chrissy. How'd you guys do this week?
So.
And how about you, Gerald?
Yeah.
Did you finish your ultimate story?
Yeah, I finished my archetypes. Yoo-hoo!
Yay!
All 12
That's
stories.
Awesome.
So
how's it feel?
Very good, actually. Very good. It's very, very interesting last story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them lie for a bit because it's about sort of 14, 15,000 words. So it's quite a lot. It's quite a big thing. So I'm probably going to print them off, take them away with me when I go away on holiday, and work on them on paper when I'm away. And because I think that the themes have changed a bit since I started. The way I write's changed a little bit, so I'm going to go back over the early stories, sort of edit them, and then bring them into one coherent thing.
That's wonderful, Gerald. And how about you, Chrissy?
So I've been editing a lot.
Go ahead and repeat that because you were moving, and it'll make it easier for me to cut.
Okay. So I've been editing a lot this week. And I will be publishing my Scarab Necklace story this weekend. So I've been working on that a lot, and I've almost got it finished. I've got like 1,000 words left to do. And I also worked on my AI story a little bit that I had shared last week. So I've got that mostly done too. So one edited short story and one almost complete written short story, so not too bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I did okay. I did a piece of Flash, but you know what? I'm realizing that it'll fit really well with my current collection, but it needs to be longer to fit in. I can't have all these super long short stories and then like this piece of Flash stuck in the middle.
Or you just need to write more Flash fiction.
Did you see the excitement in my face when you said that? But what was cool is I used the writing prompt from last week. So yeah, I used the writing prompt, and I really, really liked where it went. And I think that I'm going to be able. I would like to get it at least 2,000 words. If it's 2,000, the writing prompt was two children in the woods staring at stars. And I really liked where the story was going, and I think if I can lengthen it to about 2,000, 2,500 words, it'll work well with my current series about troubled children. So and I'm happy with it, and I wrote it really fast. You're gonna laugh. I wrote it this morning.
No,
I wrote mine last night all week.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it all week, turning the story in my mind all week. And I've had a lot of other stuff going on, and I really just couldn't sit down and write it. And I felt like it was a story that I wanted to sit down and write in one go. Mm-hmm. And so this morning I woke up super, super early. That's why I was so awake at the last podcast, Gerald, because I've been up all morning. I woke up super, super early, and I sat down and I just started writing, and it flowed. Oh my goodness, it flowed. It felt like my fingers were playing with words. And again, it's really simple language. It's not like my normal stories. I think it's probably closer to the previous story I wrote, Gerald, where you said the language was much more simple and a little more gritty almost. Yeah. It's kind of like that. And I enjoy where it's going. And I think if I lengthen it, there's going to be a lot of room to add resonance and nuance and all those different things that I'm really trying to work at injecting into my stories. So I'm super stoked about it.
So are you happy with it as a basic story, I guess?
Yeah, I do. I am. I think that's what's crazy. I'm going to lengthen it so that it will fit with the rest of the collection, but I actually like it the way it is.
You can still hear me, right?
Yeah. Okay. I enjoy it a great deal. It's about this girl who's run away, and she's living in the woods. And there's a young boy who's always been in love with her, and he's bringing her food. And it's really sweet. You know, he comes into the woods and he's bringing her food, and she's run away from sexual abuse. and the time isn't really apparent. It could be modern, or it could be like alternate universe, like fantasy world, like you can't really tell. And at one point, she's so thankful, she tries to give him her body and he rejects her because he doesn't want her that way. And I felt like, I mean, the whole point of my series, my short story series, is the idea that the innocence of children is lost on the children, and that these children are going through this, but there's a maturity and an understanding that this young boy has that is shown in the story. And so while she is like the main character as far as like trauma and what's going on, really the main character is the young boy and how he's reacting to her and how he wants to take care of her, and he's confused and he's working through his emotions. So I think there's a lot of room for me to expand this story, and that makes me stoked. It's not good. One of these flash stories where it's like, I have to make it bigger, I don't know how. You know, I think it's really obvious how.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. That's good.
Yeah. So, Chrissy, tell me your AI story. You started it last week. Where's it going now? How is it growing?
So it's a it's the birth of the AI, and the AI is trying to figure out what it is, and it's realizing that it's part machine and part organic. So it's something completely different. And it's kind of like a living doll. So
yeah.
And it's going to have to come to terms with that fact. And so are the people, and then they're going to have to decide whether or not to keep it alive.
And that's where the AI decides it's going to stay alive, whether the humans want it to or not. No, I'm joking.
Have either of you read, what's it called? It's Hugh Howey's short story.
I've never read anything by Hugh Howey. Unfortunately, I'm not, as much as I am a supporter of indie fiction, I haven't read a great deal of it just because most of it is genre fiction, and I read very little genre fiction, unfortunately. I read horror more than anything else.
So you might pick up Glitch because it's only a few pages long. It's just a short story. But it's something similar where it's dealing with the birth of AI and what the heck do you do with it now?
Yeah. I really would like to read more genre fiction. It's one of these things where whenever I get the urge to read genre fiction, I instantly go to horror or like a dystopian novel. That is my fun candy reading.
Expand your horizon.
But I love my literary fiction, and I don't read very fast. So when I choose to pick a book, it's like this may be the only book I read for weeks.
That is why I am suggesting a short story.
Yeah, he's written a lot of short stories.
And you have this thing, this podcast where you review short stories every week.
We only review literary short stories. That's the thing. So I'm already reading a literary short story a week, and then it's like, oh, I have to pick up a genre short story. But I may actually want to pick that up because I haven't read a lot of AI short stories, but I love AI movies. I love movies about artificial intelligence.
Right.
So I think I will pick up that story because I think it's probably is something I would like.
It'll take you like 15-20 minutes to read it.
Well, it'll probably take me an hour and a half because, I'm slow. Carol, you know how I read.
I don't think it's that. So it's really short.
I'm slow as molasses.
Well, pick up the audiobook. The audiobook's, I think, $1.50.
She's like, read it.
It's really good. I enjoy it. And to be fair, I think some like science fiction and fantasy and stuff would qualify as literary fiction.
Oh, I definitely do. I read that. That's what I read. I read the sci-fi and the genre fiction that actually crosses over into literary fiction. And I think why every time I look at like straight genre, I'm like, oh, I want to read that. And then it's like, but there's this other thing that I want to read more. And it's not that I'm against reading. It's that I'm always distracted by some literary book or story or some sci-fi literary, especially like horror literary. Like I love literary horror. And so it's like, if I'm going to take the time to read like a candy book, I'm going to be reading like literary horror because I love it so much, especially when it crosses over into like psychological horror with a little bit of religion, a little bit of sex, and I'm all good.
Right.
Ticking all your boxes.
Okay, then.
You gotta tip all the boxes.
I don't read much horror, so I can't read any of those.
I do like Hugh Howey's short fiction. I was reading his Beacon 23 shorts as he was publishing them, and
I have that one.
Yeah,
I've heard his short stories are really good.
Right.
They are.
Well, Silo started as like a novella. It's not a very long read either, and that is what started his career was that novella because it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And it has so many, it makes you think about what is reality and what is humanity and where we're going and things like that.
Exactly.
And
I love books and stories that after done reading it, you're kind of scratching your head and and it kind of like haunts you for a little bit and you almost can't even read anything else for a little bit because you're still processing the story or the book. I love that. And so that's part of the reason why I'm so slow is because I tend to read something and then not read anything for a week or two or maybe even a month because I'm still like digesting what it was that I just read. And then every once in a while, it's like I get topped up with all this like totally like mind bending, like serious stuff. And I'm like, I need a candy book. And then I go to my literary horror or I read some like YA dystopian book. I think I read like one YA dystopian book like every 2 years. But when I do, I really, really love it. It's like the teenager in me goes, squee!
I think the thing I like about Hugh Howey is that he's really nailed the Stephen King way of writing in a genre, but making it accessible to everyone with a style of writing that just sort of sucks you in and you can just read it very, very easily.
Well,
yeah, I think that's why he's done well.
Like Stephen King, he makes it about people. It's about the characters and how they react to the situation and how it affects them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved Stephen King growing up, and I tried to pass that love on to my son, but I made a mistake. I gave him, instead of starting him with something like Cujo or like Pet Sematary, like I love old Stephen King, like
Firestarter,
like old. Oh yes, I remember when I found Firestarter. I was hiding in the library from my bullies, and I used to do that a lot, and I'm like looking at the shelves and there was like this old, like ratted hardback version of Firestarter that had probably been there since it first was published. And I pulled it out and I like did not move. And I used to read wherever I was when I walked home from school. I was reading as I was walking and kids were making fun of me, telling me I was going to run into holes and stuff. But this book,
I know that feeling.
Yeah, it totally sucked me in. And instead of trying to start my son off with one of those books, I gave him Tommy Knockers. Totally turned him off. I like, oh man, I messed that up.
Tommy Knockers makes a really good movie, not so much a book.
I know. What was I thinking? But it had been so long since I read it, I forgot. I think the most recent of Stephen King's books that I loved was Misery. Like, I haven't read any Stephen King since Misery.
Wow. Yeah, it's like half of his books are better movies and half of them are better books.
Yeah.
And it really just, and some of them, there's a select few that are good as both books and movies because they are so completely different from each other. Like The Running Man. They're not completely similar. They're like totally different.
Well, when I look at his books that are better as movies, what I see is a lot of those are his later books where he was too big for his editor to handle. So all the books where the editor should have said, hey, cut this and cut that and cut this and cut that. And he said, but I'm Stephen King. Okay. Like all those books are better as movies because all that stuff got cut.
I'm Stephen King. Do you like your job as an editor?
Exactly. Do you know who you're talking to?
Yes. You know who I am.
But his earlier books, they're much tighter. And I think that's why they work both as books and movies. Because his old books also made great movies, in my opinion. Now, they may not have been the best movies, but I think that that's largely in part because they were like done in the 70s and early 80s, and you know, some of that stuff just doesn't translate to today. But I remember watching Firestarter when I was a kid. I remember watching Pet Sematary when I was a kid. All those movies were so good back then. Now you watch it and you're like, really?
Well, and the movies, they have to condense it into 2 hours. So you end up cutting a lot of the extra fluff.
Exactly.
And while that extra fluff can be entertaining to read, it doesn't make it sometimes because sometimes
did you see my side eye?
I did. I can see you. Maybe you can't see me, but I can see you.
You can see my black girl side. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Oh my god. Waiting to be stereotype.
You know, it's funny because reading Stephen King reminds me of when I was in poetry class, and the first time I cut a poem by like 20% was the first time my poem actually read like a finished piece of art. And it's really reminded me every time I think, oh, you know, I love this part of me is like, do you want to be Stephen King?
You know what? He makes millions of dollars every year. Yes, I kind of do.
Well, I kind of want to look at my story and say there's no extraneous words, and this is a total piece of art. And I feel like he did that in the beginning. I feel like back when he cut his stuff more, his work was not only genre, but it was also quite literary. Like there's a lot of literary feel to his books, which is I think why I like him so much. Like, yeah, he's genre fiction, but his use of language, his use of metaphor, like it's so literary in so many ways. And the only problem I have with his newer stuff is the lack of conciseness. There are many times when he goes off on these tangents, and I don't want to be that writer. I don't.
He's also known for bad endings, according to some people.
I don't think his endings are bad. I just think that if the stuff before the ending was cut a little better, that the ending would have more impact. But
and of course, coming back on topic, he also writes short fiction.
I just gave that to my son.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for him to finish.
Oh, is that a book of short fiction?
Yes, he went back to writing short stories.
Yeah,
I was so excited.
That's a holiday with me. But I'm going to sneak it because we don't sort of generally take books with us, but I'm going to take that book with me because
see, that's why I have a Kindle, because then I can take 1,000 books with me.
Oh yeah,
I think that this brings to mind something even he has said. He said a long time ago, because there was a time when he stopped writing short stories and was only writing novels, and he said that when he went back to write short stories, it was hard because he had lost the ability to be concise. He'd lost the ability to get to the point and be short and make characters with shorthand language. And then this book comes out. And I'm so excited to see him go back to short stories. And I'm curious to see the next novel he writes after having written this huge collection of short stories. I'm wondering if it's going to come out tighter like his older books used to back when he used to write a lot of short stories. One of my favorite Stephen King stories, I'm not sure if it qualifies as a short story or a novella, is The Long Walk.
Oh, I love that one. I think it's a novella.
Okay. It's also there's an audio version of it that I listened to ages ago. It is seriously one of my favorite dystopian stories of all time.
Yeah.
It is on such a great level. Yeah. It is magnificently written. It's tight. There's tension. Oh, the tension is so... I want to be able to write like that. I need that tension in my stories.
And it's such a simple idea too, and yet he puts in so much tension in that simple story. I mean, it's literally about a person taking a long walk.
Yes, with snipers pointing rifles at them.
But
they can't stop walking or else they get shot. But, at its essence, it's a guy taking a walk.
And I love the ending, too.
Yeah.
The ending was perfect.
It really was perfect. And, when I can write a story, there are very few stories where I read them and I think that was a perfect story. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about this because we're preparing to interview an author on one of the other shows, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, what is my goal of being a writer? You know, a lot of people have the goal of, you know, making a living, writing an amazing story that entertains their fans, and all these awesome goals. And I'm like, I don't really understand those goals. Like, I'm like, on one level, it's like, yeah, I want that too, but what is my goal? Like, I'm not sure what my goal is of being a writer. Yeah, I would like to make a living, but I don't think that's what fuels me, because if it is what fueled me, I would have self-published a bunch of stuff already. So I can't say that's what fuels me, because actions speak louder than words. And so I'm looking at my writing, I'm looking at how slowly I write and how I keep going back over things and how I'm never happy with anything I write, but it's not in like a you're a bad writer type of way. It's in a I know this can be better. How can I massage this type way? And I'm realizing that my goal, I think what fuels me is this idea of writing the perfect story. Thankfully, that's virtually impossible. So I know I can't die until I do it. So, you know, no dying for you. No dying for me. but it really made me think, like, what is my purpose in writing? Am I writing to portray like a certain message? And, you know, you see a lot of authors who they'll write 15 books and all 15 books are on the same subject, but they're all approaching it from a different way. And you can almost sense that the writer is trying to get a message across, and they've never felt like they've fully gotten it across. And so they just keep rewriting it until they get it right. And I don't think that's what fuels me. I really think it is this idea of writing a perfect story.
Gerald, what's your purpose of writing?
Because I have to write. I have stories. I have stories to tell, and with me, yes, I've had a successful doing things that weren't writing. So I'm in the position where I don't need to earn money from writing. So I can do it for the art rather than the money. But
that's a nice place to be.
It is a nice place to be.
Or it can be a crazy place to be. You end up like me.
It's also because it would be very easy to just write stuff and not do anything with them. But I've invested too much in my writing, and I'm too self-aware about my writing and about how it appears to other people. So I want to get my writing out there in a number of different forms. And so, yeah, if I can earn a cup of coffee now and again, great. But what's important to me is telling the story and having people read them.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Chrissy?
I think I started writing because I felt like I wasn't heard, that nobody ever paid attention to me. Nobody listened to anything I had to say. And I idolized Piers Anthony a lot, because in his writing, he gets across a lot of his personal beliefs without actually being preachy about it. But you learn from reading his stories and reading his and the author's notes and some of his like biography and stuff, what he thinks and what he feels and how he sees the world around him. And I always loved that about his writing.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned Piers Anthony, because he completely changed my worldview. And when people ask me how I became a Buddhist, it's really funny, but in a weird way, I can trace it back to Piers Anthony.
That's funny, because I think he's atheist.
Yeah, which is what's funny. It is really funny. There were certain stories that I was reading. Mm-hmm. You know, I was reading Piers Anthony. I was reading Roger Zelazny. I think maybe even Roger Zelazny even more. And what it did was it opened my idea. It opened my thought process up. Right. Outside of what was being taught, outside of what my family believed or my neighbors believed. It just opened up all these alternative ideas. Mm-hmm. And I started making these weird linkings where, you know, he was talking like incarnations of immortality, where he's talking about mythology.
I love that series.
Me too. And so I'm reading that and I'm seeing like parallels in the Bible and in the Quran and in Buddhism and all these different parallels. And I was reading Roger Zelazny and you know, the Chronicles of Amber, and there's all these reflections of the same universe. Mm-hmm. And I began having this kernel of an idea that that all these religions are reflections of the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what led me to Buddhism, was the idea that all religion has, like, there's a kernel of truth that all these religions are trying to illuminate badly, because we're humans and we can't really understand it. And I ended up with Buddhism because Buddhism is all about like action.
Mm-hmm.
But when Buddha was asked, is there a God? His answer was, that's beside the point. And it really just worked with this bigger worldview that I was developing through literature,
Mm-hmm.
that there was no one right thing, and that I don't know if we're alive or if we're a dream or if we're a reflection. Like, that's where my head was. And Gerald, you're going to laugh.
All of that's beside the point.
Yeah, you're going to totally laugh at this. When I was in 8th grade, I got detention because my teacher asked me where my homework assignment was. And I told her that I hadn't done it, but it was okay because I had done it in an alternate version of our current universe.
That's
and so
hilarious.
At least in one of our reflections, my homework was done.
That's perfect.
Well done.
So that's the kind of child I was. There you go. Ballsy and insane.
I think I would have liked you.
I think you would have liked me too. I would definitely have liked you. So yeah, like literature definitely was like had a huge impact on my psyche. And it was very important to making me the person I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, coming back to what we were saying about Stephen King and turning back to short stories, I'm sure I mentioned on a earlier podcast that I found that my short stories have changed since I've got back into writing them, and they've got a lot better. And the early ones, probably the first month of January, were novel-like. They were, just this happens, that happens, and that all lived happily ever after, sort of thing. So there's a definite sort of psyche and a different attitude to writing short stories, and it's great to be back in that zone again, and hopefully that will then reflect on my novel writing as well, and make that more concise and a bit more interesting.
Well, I think it will, Gerald. You've heard me talk about how revising my novel has changed after a year of reading so many short stories. Like, not only have I read the 52 short stories, but there were multiple collections that I read because one of the short stories was so good, I needed to read the whole collection. So last year I got really close to 200 stories. I have to sit down and count all the short stories I read last year, but I think it was like 160, 170. Like, wow. It was a really, really high amount of short stories. And it's changed how I read novels for sure. So when I went back and I started reading my novel for revision, I was spotting stuff that I never would have spotted. I was quick to cut. Like, I lost that, but I really like this scene. I'm just like, meh.
Yeah.
It made me brutal.
Yeah.
So I think your goal is gonna come to fruition.
I think so. Somebody sawing wood somewhere.
Oh, that is my washer machine.
I was wondering what it was.
I'm sorry.
Like, what?
They turned it on. It's been on for a while.
You're like, why did you turn that on? I'm podcasting.
Yeah. I did think that.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. It sounds like everyone did pretty good this week. Did you have any struggles this week with your writing?
Getting started. For like I think 3 days I didn't even write.
Yeah. How did you let yourself get started?
So like 3 days I read like 200 words, and I was like, that's not enough. I just finally I had to sit down and say, you need to do this. And I think part of it, I was having a pity party again.
I love that you call it a pity party. I think we all need to own up to that when that happens to us.
Yes. And I've come to realize that in order to get over my pity parties, I have to say, okay, Chrissy, you are having a pity party right now. Why are you having it? What is the cause? And how can we get out of this? Because yeah, they're not healthy. Well,
Yeah.
they can be. They can be for a
Mhm.
little bit. But if they continue on, then you have issues. And you probably should go see a therapist because you might have depression.
Yeah. So, what tools have you been using to get out of that whenever you realize, okay, I'm having a pity party. I need to make myself right?
I will take a personal health day and I'll just do stuff for me. I'll read a book or take a bubble bath or go shopping or just go to dinner with my boyfriend, and I will take a break and realize, look at all the good stuff going on in my life, because the pity party usually is this bad thing is happening to me over and over and over again, like not being able to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
or something like that, and I'm like, okay, so this voice thing is probably not going away, so I need to just get over it and go on with my life. So
That's good. That's solid. I think for me, when I get into that, because I have depression, and I definitely get into that pity party. I can't write. Nothing I write is good. Like la 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 mode. And this is gonna sound really silly, but when I have days like that, I put on makeup. Like seriously, something about putting on makeup.
I started doing that this week.
Yeah, it's like I'm getting ready. It's like I'm presenting myself to myself. Like no one's going to see me. I'm sitting in the keyboard typing, but somehow the act of putting makeup on my face makes me feel like I can do my writing. Makes no sense.
I stopped wearing makeup a while ago because I just don't care. But after being sick for so long, I started looking in the mirror thinking, I just look tired and old, and I just don't feel myself anymore. And I put on makeup, and suddenly I feel better.
Gerald's like, I don't understand this. Gerald, why don't you try putting on makeup whenever you have writer's block?
It's probably a good job I don't have these problems, because I can't put on makeup to make me feel better.
Well, is there
is there anything, a male equivalent?
Yeah. Like going and getting a haircut,
like
shaving,
right? Like put on a suit, like you're gonna go to work or you get out of the house or something.
No. I mean, it's a sort of well-known fact that exercise improves the flow of endorphins. So I pretty much walk the dog every day. I cycle quite often. So I get plenty of fresh air, plenty of exercise, and
wait, fresh air? What's that?
Yeah, so the
writers aren't allowed to have that.
I think it's very healthy. So yeah, so I
depends on how much pollen is in the air, but yeah,
maybe.
See, that's the benefit of having a dog. I think is it forces you out of the house because they got to go poo, and so
I have been thinking that. Yeah,
I was thinking of that. Like when I leave the country, it'd be kind of nice. Whenever I find a country I want to settle in, to get a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I want a dog.
Just something to get you out of the house. Yeah.
They do tie you down as well. So, there is that.
So, Gerald, did you have any struggles this week?
Nope.
Oh, well, tell us.
Perfect, Gerald.
Nope. He's just like, nope. I
had a busy week. I was at London Book Fair on Tuesday.
So jealous.
And, so I want to know, how long did it take you to write your story?
A couple of hours. Yeah, because
how long is it?
Because it's 1,500 words, so it's.
Oh, so it's not a long story.
Yeah, it's because it's in that. I knew what it was. I didn't know what it was about. I knew what the character was before I started. It's part of that series, so. So I just
hold on. I'm going to turn off that water.
Thank you.
And I find that I do find that even though I have the sort of character outline at the top of the where I'm writing, start writing it changes a lot. The sort of person it is it changes, and the idea come to my head, and I thought, oh, this is a good angle for this character, and it's again, I think it's part of the writing a lot of short fiction. You sort of get deeper in character, so it's not just this this sort of person, and what are they? It's more it's what's their motivation, what are their problems, what's the conflict that they're going to experience, and all that sort of stuff. So it's yeah. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty smug at the moment.
We like Smug Gerald. So Smug Gerald, are you going to read for us today?
Yeah, I can read for you.
Okay.
It's again it's from this thing that I wrote, and
You wrote it?
what I wrote, yeah. And it's had a once over. So here we go. She had been one of the first. When everyone else in the country was merrily filling up their metal bins with rubbish which would find its way to landfill sites with their stench and filth and scavenging gulls and pigeons, Ella recycled everything she could. She knew when she was taking her shopping bags full of cardboard and plastic containers to London's only recycling centre, she was being called a bag lady. The kids used to shout at her, point fingers, throw things. After a while, she didn't care. She never threw anything away, partly through a desire to not contribute to the terrible waste, partly concerned keeping things by her that might at some point in the future become useful. She would look at the multiple piles of newspapers, yellowing in the more recent heaps, and the others almost disintegrating into gossamer shreds of tissue paper, and think about clearing some of them out. But she knew that, in amongst them, there were articles worth keeping, worth rereading, when she had the time. However, she couldn't remember the last time she rescued one of these flimsy dailies to bring back something of importance, of relevance, maybe even of interest. She was in her bathroom when the doorbell rang. She was looking at the boxes and bags and containers in her bathroom, thinking that one of the days she should throw some about so she could get to the bath. The doorbell made her jump. She was surprised that it even still worked. She couldn't remember the last time anyone had rung it. And that was another problem. She had trouble remembering things, sometimes important things. The bell rang again, and was then followed by a sharp knock on the door. Who on earth could be calling for her? She could tell by the levels of light filtering through the semi-opaque bathroom window, past the newspapers and bath gel bottles, some empty, some full, all used in a long time, and past the strange plastic shapes that seemed to have no place in here. She could tell it was early morning. Miss Carsdale, are you there? She frowned. That name hadn't been used in a long time. Miss Carsdale, always a miss, never a Mrs. She backed away from the sounds from the front door, the door which led to the outside, and the people and the things and the whatever it was that kept her from passing through that door. She backed away until she could move no more, and whatever it was that was barring her way didn't move, a wall maybe, and her knees buckled, and she slid slowly down that immovable object until her knees bent tight, and she let her feet slide forwards, and then she was sitting on the floor.
Wow. Gerald,
yes.
I have a question. I know you've said that you want to publish this as a collection, but have you considered publishing it first through some journals and then publishing it as a collection? Because honestly, several of your stories sound like they would fit really well into some of the literary journals we've been reading from.
I haven't thought of it, to be honest.
Like, frankly, that particular story sounds like it would fit right into Carve. It sounds like it would fit into a lot of the journals that I've been reading from. It's good.
Thank you.
Like, you're writing now, it's like I've read some of your older short stories.
Yeah.
And your writing is improving significantly.
Yeah, I know that I have a style now, and I know that from some of the groups I go to where you write something there and then and you read it out and the reaction I get there is very positive too. So I'll think about it. Thank you. I will.
Okay.
I think I feel better if I read before Gerald from now on.
Well, you know what? It's just wonderful to hear because I'm hearing so much change in his writing just in the time that we've been doing this podcast. But when you read like some of his first collection, it's like night and flipping day. Like, seriously, it's night and day. Yeah. And so I think that's something that is huge and it needs to be acknowledged.
We acknowledge that you are awesome, Gerald.
Okay, so Chrissy, are you ready to read?
And I'm not just being facetious. I do think you're awesome. But anyway. So I guess I'll just continue reading some of my AI story. Do you know who I am? Data points aligned on the surface, measuring width, depth, and position, eye color, nose shape, mouth curve. Data compared to data banks in milliseconds. Dr. Emily Blake. It nodded the appendage affirmative. Say it, Dr. Blake said. It found processors for speakers and programming to encode sound, a voice synthesizer. Dr. Emily Blake of Franfield Institute and Technology, it said with a speaker. Well, that's a start, Dr. Blake said, then turned her face away from it. Now what? Did Dr. Blake speak to it? What would they do in the present? What would they do to it in the present text? It was unsure. Now we see what it can do, said another voice. It tried to find the source of the new sound, rotating scanners and cameras to a new alignment, orientating to the proper triangulation. Another face shifted into view. It ran a second pattern check and matched the new face to a record, Dr. Matthew Reinhouse. A file was attached to the picture: employment, age, date of birth, employment history, college diploma, certificates of social media outlets, links to social media. It followed the link and nothing. The connection was blank. It's orientating on sound, Dr. Reinhouse said. He, male. He walked to another part of the room, and it followed him with a sensor. Why did it follow? To gather data, it realized. To see what he did. Curiosity? There you go.
Wow.
I like getting into the head of AI. I like that.
And you've got a great reading voice for that type of story. I just really do love the way you
even with it scratchy and gargly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's very
definitely.
Good. I love it.
But you know, it a lot of AI stories, you're in the head of the scientist, or you're in the head of somebody that is dealing with the AI. But I think you've nailed like the thought process, you know, the checks and balances that go on as it's thinking. And I think that's kind of cool.
I'm slowly learning.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I'm reading part of the story I was writing this early morning. It hasn't even had a once over, so have fun with my reading voice.
We will love it, Maya, because we love you.
Aw, I feel so special.
Wow.
Also, my nose is brown right now.
So it does rub off. I'm joking.
Oh my word.
So wrong.
Yeah.
So wrong on every level. Poor Gerald. So offended. Okay, here we go.
Damn story.
Rachel followed the direction of the rustling and waited. It did not stop. Hiding behind a bush, she listened for her father's cursing, and when the gentle psst fell through the night air, she relaxed for the first time in weeks. She squinted, and there in the clearing was a skinny neighbor boy carrying a messenger bag. She looked from one side to the other before revealing herself. I brought you food. Did anyone see you? The boy rolled his eyes. I'm sorry I'm late. They're still looking for you, and it was, what did you bring? He opened the bag and pulled out a pillowcase. The world disappeared as it unwrapped slowly, revealing a heel of bread, an apple, and a wad of foil. Thank you, she said. Her voice was rough and scratched. It's getting cold. Pulling a blanket from his pack, she laid it on the ground, and opening the foil, she ravished the cold clump of leftovers, careful to suck each finger for the last remnants of flavor. And that is all I'm going to read.
Lovely.
Because I'm keeping the rest of it secret.
Ooh.
What?
In case we steal it.
No, I need to make it longer, and I need to work on it some more. And I think I'm going to work on it tomorrow. I think I'm going to take some time, at least like 2 hours tomorrow, and sit down and lengthen it and make it the story that it's capable of becoming. So yeah, I've got a lot of work to do. I've got like a whole stack of short stories that I want to edit.
Yeah.
Like they're starting to add up.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
That is the problem with the Bradbury challenge. You start getting this stack of short stories and you're like, I need to edit all this mess. Yeah. Maybe next year it should be the year of editing.
Good point.
The Bradbury challenge, year of editing, part 2. And here we are. We're at 45 minutes, so we should probably bring this to a close. I want to thank all of our listeners. Oh, yes, we need a writing prompt. You have a good one.
I have a good one. Okay, so you are cleaning your files on your computers, and you find one that you don't remember putting there, and all it says is "remember."
Oh,
Ooh.
I love that one.
It could be, and I like it because it could be files in your computer, it could be files in your library, it could be, your notebook. Just
Anything. Gerald, are you going to get all Memento next week?
All what?
Memento?
What's that mean?
You never saw Memento?
That is a fantastic film.
I had a hard time getting through it. I've tried to watch it a couple times and I kept falling asleep, but it really is quite good if you can stay awake.
I keep wanting to watch it backwards.
You know what? I think I actually would like it better if I watched it backwards. I think it would be I think that's a movie where they should have it on the DVD forward and then have it backwards.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be so awesome.
Because I actually watched it like 2 or 3 times because I wanted to get all of it.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those films you have to watch it more than once or else you're not going to catch everything.
Yeah,
but
you really need to.
It's really good.
Gerald, I think you should watch it.
I've written it down. I shall.
Okie dokie.
Attempt to watch it.
Well, great writing prompt, Chrissy. And now I can say it without... Why do I keep forgetting the writing prompt each week? So I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us for the Bradbury Challenge. And if you would like to read the show notes and look at all of our other shows, please visit www.literaryroadhouse.com. We could also really use some iTunes reviews for both the Bradbury Challenge and the Literary Roadhouse Book Club. So if you enjoy our shows, please head over to iTunes and leave reviews. Thank you very much. Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks. We did it.
Awesome.
Hi, Gail. How are you?